You're lying to yourself and you don't even know it. Every morning you tell yourself, today's going to be different. Today I'm going to focus. Today I'm going to get it done. Today I'm going to be that person. And by noon you're already off track, distracted, reacting to whatever comes your way, living on autopilot, again. And the worst part? You've gotten so used to this pattern that you think it's just who you are. Like you're wired this way, like you don't have a choice. But that's the biggest lie of all. Because you do have a choice. You've always had a choice. You just haven't made it yet. Most people will go their entire lives never realizing that everything they want is on the other side of one thing, one shift, one decision. And it's not about working harder. It's not about having more time or better circumstances. It's about what's happening in the space between your ears. Your mind, that's the battlefield. That's where everything is won or lost. You can have the perfect strategy, the best opportunities, all the resources in the world. But if your mind isn't right, if it's weak, if it's undisciplined, you're gonna lose every single time. And you already know this is true because you've seen it in your own life. You've had moments where you knew exactly what to do, but you didn't do it. Where you had the opportunity right in front of you, but you hesitated. Where you could have pushed through, but you quit instead. That wasn't a lack of ability. That was your mind getting in the way. And until you fix that, nothing else changes. The game isn't played in the world. The game is played in your head. Everything you want, everything you're trying to build, every goal you're chasing, it all starts and ends in your mind. And if you can't control that, if you can't master that space between your ears, nothing else matters. You can have the best strategy, the perfect plan, all the resources in the world. But if your mind is weak, if it's cluttered, if it's undisciplined, you're going to lose every single time. The elite mind isn't something you're born with. Nobody came out of the womb with mental clarity and unshakable focus. It's built, it's forged. Through repetition, through discipline, through choosing better thoughts over and over again until those thoughts become your default. But most people never do this work. They let their minds run wild like an untrained animal. They react to everything. They get triggered by the smallest things. Someone cuts them off in traffic and their whole day is ruined. Someone says something sideways and they can't let it go for hours. They scroll through social media and suddenly they feel like garbage because everyone else looks happier, richer, more successful. And they don't realize they're doing this to themselves. They're giving away their power. They're letting external things control their internal state. And that's the ultimate weakness. Your mind is either your greatest weapon or your worst enemy. There's no middle ground. Either you control it or it controls you. Either you decide what thoughts get attention, or your thoughts decide what kind of day you're going to have. And the scary part is most people have never even tried to take control. They think their thoughts just happen to them, like they're a victim of their own brain. But that's not how it works. You have more control than you think. You just haven't exercised that control. You haven't built that muscle. So your mind does whatever it wants and you just go along for the ride. Anxious when it decides to be anxious. Angry when it decides to be angry. Depressed when it decides to focus on everything wrong. You're a passenger in your own life and you don't even know it. The elite mind doesn't operate like this. The elite mind is selective, intentional, focused. It doesn't entertain every thought that pops up. It doesn't give energy to things that don't matter. It knows what deserves attention and what deserves to be ignored. And that's a skill. That's something you practice. You don't wake up one day and suddenly have this ability. You develop it by catching yourself, by noticing when your mind is going somewhere useless and redirecting it, by stopping the spiral before it starts. Most people let one negative thought turn into 10. Then those 10 turn into a whole narrative. And before they know it, they've convinced themselves they're not good enough. They'll never make it. Everything is falling apart. All from one thought they could have dismissed in the first 5 seconds. You ever notice how the most successful people seem calm, even when chaos is happening around them, even when things aren't going according to plan? They're not freaking out, they're not spiraling, they're steady. And it's not because they don't face problems. It's because they've trained their mind not to add unnecessary drama to those problems. They see things for what they are, not worse, not catastrophic, just what they are. And then they handle it. No panic, no overthinking, just action. That's what the elite mind does. It stays present. It stays focused on what can be controlled. It doesn't waste energy on what can't be changed. And that alone puts you ahead of 99% of people. Because most people are stuck in their heads, worried about the future, replaying the past, never actually here, never actually locked in on the current moment. And the current moment is the only place where anything actually happens. You can't change yesterday. It's done. You can't control tomorrow. It hasn't arrived yet. All you have is right now, this second, this breath, this decision. And if you can't be here for this, fully present, fully engaged, then you're missing your life. You're missing the only chance you have to actually create something. The elite mind understands this. It's not thinking about last week's failure while trying to execute today. It's not worried about next month's deadline while working on right now's task. It's here, fully, completely. And that focus is what creates results. Distractions are everywhere. We live in a world designed to steal your attention. Notifications, messages, news, drama, entertainment. Everyone wants a piece of your mental energy. And if you're not careful, if you're not intentional, you'll give it all away. You'll spend your whole day reacting to other people's agendas and have nothing left for your own. You'll feel busy but accomplish nothing. You'll feel tired but haven't actually built anything. That's the trap. That's what keeps people stuck. They're engaged with everything except what matters. Their mind is everywhere except where it needs to be. And they wonder why they're not progressing. They wonder why they're not growing. It's because their energy is scattered. Their focus is split. And you can't build anything real with a divided mind. The elite mind protects its energy like it's the most valuable resource on earth. Because it is. You only have so much. You only have so much mental capacity in a day. So you better be selective about what gets it. You better be ruthless about what you say yes to and what you say no to. Because every time you say yes to something that doesn't matter, you're saying no to something that does. Every time you engage with drama, with gossip, with negativity, you're taking energy away from your goals, from your growth, from your purpose. And that's a choice. Whether you realize it or not, you're choosing where your mind goes. And if you're not choosing intentionally, then it's choosing for you, and it's probably choosing poorly. Let's talk about fear. Because fear lives in the mind, and most people let it run the show. They don't pursue the opportunity because they're afraid they'll fail. They don't start the business because they're afraid they're not ready. They don't have the conversation because they're afraid of what might happen. And all of this is mental. It's not real. The fear isn't based on facts. It's based on stories they've told themselves. Stories about who they are, what they're capable of, what might go wrong. And those stories feel real. They feel true, but they're not. They're just thoughts, and thoughts can be changed. The elite mind doesn't eliminate fear. That's not realistic. Fear is always going to show up. But the elite mind doesn't let fear make decisions. It feels the fear and moves anyway. It acknowledges the discomfort and does the thing anyway. Because it knows that on the other side of fear is everything it wants. Growth, progress, success. All of it requires moving through fear. Not around it, through it. And here's what most people don't get. The fear doesn't go away once you succeed. It just changes. You hit one goal and now there's a bigger goal with bigger fears attached to it. You level up and the stakes get higher. The pressure increases, the doubts get louder. That's part of the process. The elite mind expects this. It doesn't think there's some magical point where everything feels easy and comfortable. It knows that discomfort is the price of growth. It knows that if you're not feeling some level of fear or doubt, you're probably not pushing hard enough. You're probably playing it safe. And playing it safe is the slowest way to die. Not physically, but mentally, emotionally. You just fade into mediocrity and wonder what could have been. Your mind will try to keep you safe. That's its default programming. It wants to avoid pain, avoid risk, avoid anything that might hurt. And in the past, that made sense, when survival was the main concern. But we're not running from lions anymore. The things we're afraid of now aren't life or death. They're just uncomfortable. Rejection, failure, embarrassment. None of these things will kill you. But your mind treats them like they will. It sends the same alarm signals, the same panic response. And if you listen to that every time, you'll never do anything meaningful. You'll stay small. You'll stay stuck. You'll stay safe. And safe is another word for invisible, another word for forgotten. The elite mind rejects safety. It chooses growth over comfort, challenge over convenience. It would rather fail trying than succeed at playing small. Discipline is a mental game. People think discipline is about forcing yourself to do things you don't want to do. And sure, sometimes that's part of it. But real discipline is about training your mind to want the right things, to value long-term rewards over short-term pleasure, to see the bigger picture when everything in you wants to quit. Most people can be disciplined for a day, maybe even a week. But when it gets hard, when it gets boring, when nobody's watching, they fold. They go back to what's easy. And that's because their mind isn't trained. Their why isn't strong enough. Their vision isn't clear enough. They're operating on motivation, and motivation runs out. The elite mind doesn't rely on motivation. It relies on identity, on becoming the type of person who does this thing regardless of how they feel. That's the shift. That's the difference. You want to build an elite mind? Start by deciding who you are, not who you want to be, not who you hope to be, who you are right now, today. Because your actions flow from your identity. If you see yourself as someone who quits when it gets hard, you'll quit. If you see yourself as someone who follows through no matter what, you'll follow through. It's that simple. Your mind will align with whatever identity you feed it. So stop feeding it weak stories. Stop calling yourself lazy. Stop saying you're not disciplined. Stop identifying with your past failures. That's not who you are anymore. That's who you were. And you get to decide who you're becoming, right now, in this moment. You get to choose a new identity and start acting like that person today. Visualization is real. It's not some mystical thing. It's practical. Your mind doesn't know the difference between a vividly imagined experience and a real one. That's why athletes visualize their performance. That's why high performers mentally rehearse difficult situations. They're programming their mind for success before it happens. They're creating mental pathways that make the actual execution easier. But most people don't do this. They visualize failure. They imagine worst-case scenarios. They mentally rehearse all the ways things could go wrong. And then they're surprised when things go wrong. Your mind is always working. It's always creating. The question is, what are you creating? What are you feeding it? What images are you running through your head on repeat? Because whatever that is, that's what you're going to experience more of. The elite mind is deliberate about this. It doesn't accidentally focus on negativity. It doesn't let random thoughts shape its reality. It chooses what to focus on. It chooses what to visualize. It sees the outcome it wants, and then it works backward from there. What would that version of me do today? How would that version of me handle this situation? What decision would that version of me make? And then it does that. It doesn't wait to feel like it. It doesn't wait until it's ready. It acts like the person it's becoming until it becomes that person. That's how you build an elite mind, through intentional thought and intentional action. Over and over and over again. Your environment shapes your mind more than you realize. The people you're around, the content you consume, the conversations you engage in, all of it is programming you. If you're surrounded by people who complain, you'll start complaining. If you're consuming content that makes you feel inadequate, you'll start feeling inadequate. If you're in environments that accept mediocrity, you'll accept mediocrity. This isn't judgment, it's just how it works. Your mind absorbs what it's exposed to, so you have to be intentional about what you expose it to. You have to protect your mental space like it's sacred, because it is. The elite mind curates its environment. It removes things that drain energy. It adds things that inspire growth. It surrounds itself with people who are on a similar path, who are building, who are growing, who are challenging themselves. Not because they're better than anyone else, but because they're serious about becoming better than they used to be. Negative self-talk is a killer. Most people don't even realize how mean they are to themselves. They would never talk to another person the way they talk to themselves in their own head. They're constantly criticizing, doubting, tearing themselves down, and they think this is normal. They think this is just how it is, but it's not. This is a habit, a pattern. And like any pattern, it can be changed. The elite mind doesn't tolerate negative self-talk. It catches it, challenges it, replaces it. You mess up? Okay. What did you learn? What will you do differently next time? Move on. You don't need to beat yourself up for hours. That doesn't help. That doesn't make you better. It just makes you weaker. It drains your energy. It reinforces the identity of someone who fails. And that's the last thing you need. Start talking to yourself like you're someone you're responsible for helping. Because you are. You're the only person who's going to be with you for your entire life. So you better be on your own team. You better be your own biggest supporter. Not in a delusional way. Not ignoring reality. But in an empowering way. In a way that acknowledges the challenge and also acknowledges your ability to handle it. You've handled everything that's come your way so far. Every hard day, every setback, every disappointment. You're still here. That's proof. That's evidence that you're capable. So stop doubting yourself and start reminding yourself of what you've already overcome. Clarity is power. Confusion is weakness. If you don't know what you want, you'll waste years chasing things that don't matter. You'll achieve goals that leave you empty. You'll climb ladders only to realize they were leaning against the wrong wall. The elite mind is clear, crystal clear. It knows what it wants, why it wants it, and what it's willing to sacrifice to get it. This clarity eliminates distractions. It makes decisions easier. It provides a filter for everything. Does this move me closer to what I want or further away? If it's further away, it's a no. Simple. Most people don't have this clarity. They're vague. They say they want success, but they haven't defined what that means. They say they want to be happy, but they don't know what makes them happy. So they drift. They try a little of everything and master nothing. They stay busy but never build anything meaningful. Get clear. Write it down. What do you actually want? Not what you think you should want. Not what other people want for you. What do you want? Be specific. Be honest. And then ask yourself why. Why do you want this? Because if your why is weak, you'll quit. If your why is someone else's expectation, you'll resent the process. But if your why is deep, if it's connected to who you are and who you want to become, you'll find a way. The elite mind has a why that's bigger than the obstacles, bigger than the fear, bigger than the discomfort. and that's what keeps it going when everything else says stop. You're going to fail, a lot. That's not a motivational line, that's a fact. You're going to try things that don't work. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to fall short of your own expectations. And the question isn't whether this will happen. The question is, how will you respond when it does? Most people let failure define them. They try something, it doesn't work, and they decide that means they're not cut out for it. They take it personally. They make it mean something about their worth, and that destroys them. Because failure isn't personal, it's information, it's feedback. It's telling you what didn't work so you can adjust and try again. The elite mind sees failure differently. It doesn't avoid failure, it expects it, it uses it, it learns from it, and then it moves forward. No drama, no self-pity, just adaptation. Every successful person you admire has failed more than you've even tried. Think about that. The people you look up to, the ones who seem like they have it all figured out, they've been rejected more times than you can count. They've had ideas that flopped, projects that went nowhere, investments that tanked, relationships that ended, and they kept going. That's the difference. Not that they didn't fail, but that failure didn't stop them. They didn't let one loss become their identity. They didn't let one setback define their future. They took the hit, learned the lesson, and tried again, and again, and again, until they figured it out. That's the elite mind, resilient, relentless, refusing to quit. Your mind is a garden. Whatever you plant in it will grow. If you plant doubt, you'll grow insecurity. If you plant fear, you'll grow anxiety. If you plant negativity, you'll grow bitterness. But if you plant possibility, you'll grow hope. If you plant discipline, you'll grow strength. If you plant gratitude, you'll grow peace. You're the gardener. You choose what seeds to plant, and you choose what weeds to pull. Most people let their mind become overgrown with weeds. They don't tend to it. They don't protect it. They let anything and everything take root, and then they wonder why they feel terrible, why they're stuck, why they can't break through. It's because they've neglected the most important space they have, their own mind. Start small. You don't need to overhaul your entire life today. You just need to make one better choice, one better thought, one better action, and then do it again tomorrow and the next day. And the day after that. Consistency compounds, small improvements stack, and over time, those tiny shifts create massive change. But you have to start. You have to stop waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect plan, the perfect feeling. None of that is coming. You start messy, you start uncertain, you start afraid, and you figure it out as you go. That's how everyone does it. The elite mind doesn't wait for permission. It doesn't wait for confidence. It acts and builds confidence through action. The voice in your head is not always your friend. Sometimes it's protecting you. Sometimes it's trying to keep you safe. But sometimes it's lying to you. It's telling you you're not ready when you are. It's telling you you can't when you can. It's telling you to wait when you should move. Learn to recognize the difference. Learn to question the voice. Is this true or is this fear? Is this wisdom or is this weakness? Not every thought you have is worth listening to. The elite mind knows this. It doesn't believe everything it thinks. It evaluates. It challenges. It chooses which thoughts to follow and which thoughts to dismiss. You are not your thoughts. You are the observer of your thoughts. This is important. Most people identify with every thought that crosses their mind. They think if they have a negative thought, that means they're negative. If they have a doubtful thought, that means they're not confident. But that's not true. Thoughts are just mental events. They come and go. You don't have to claim them. You don't have to act on them. You can notice them, acknowledge them, and let them pass. The elite mind practices this. It creates distance between itself and its thoughts. It doesn't get swept away by every mental impulse. It stays grounded, centered, in control. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. You're going to experience hard things, loss, disappointment, setbacks. That's part of being human. But how long you stay in that pain, how much you let it define you, that's a choice. Most people take their pain and turn it into a story. They replay it. They reinforce it. They let it become their identity, and they suffer far longer than necessary. The elite mind processes pain differently. It feels it, it acknowledges it, and then it moves through it. It doesn't avoid the emotion, but it also doesn't drown in it. It knows that pain is temporary if you don't hold on to it, if you don't keep reopening the wound, if you let it heal and move forward. Forgiveness is power. Holding on to anger, resentment, bitterness, that's poison. It doesn't hurt the person you're mad at. It hurts you. It keeps you stuck in the past. It keeps you focused on something you can't change, and that's a waste of your energy. The elite mind forgives, not because the other person deserves it, but because carrying that weight around is exhausting. Forgiveness is about freeing yourself. It's about releasing the grip that the past has on you. It's about choosing peace over being right. And that takes strength. That takes maturity. But it's necessary if you want to move forward. Gratitude shifts everything. When you focus on what you have, you feel abundant. When you focus on what you lack, you feel empty. It's the same life, same circumstances, different focus. The elite mind practices gratitude daily, not as some fake positivity exercise, but as a real recalibration of perspective. Because it's easy to focus on what's wrong. It's easy to see the problems, the gaps, the failures, but that perspective will drain you. It will make everything feel heavier than it is. Gratitude doesn't ignore the challenges. It just balances them with appreciation. And that balance is what keeps you sane, what keeps you motivated, what keeps you moving forward even when things are hard. Your standards determine your life. If your standards are low, you'll accept low. You'll tolerate mediocrity. You'll settle for less than you're capable of, and you'll justify it. You'll make excuses. You'll blame circumstances. But deep down, you'll know. You'll know you could have done more, been more, built more. The elite mind has high standards. Not in a judgmental way. Not in a way that makes life miserable. But in a way that refuses to settle. That refuses to accept less than what's possible. It holds itself accountable. It doesn't make excuses. It doesn't blame. It looks in the mirror and asks, what could I have done better? And then it does better. You don't need more time. You need more focus. Everyone has the same 24 hours, the same amount of time in a day. But some people build empires while others barely get through their to-do list. The difference isn't time. It's how that time is used. The elite mind is ruthless with its time. It doesn't waste hours on things that don't matter. It doesn't scroll. It doesn't procrastinate. It doesn't get distracted. It focuses on what moves the needle and ignores everything else. And that focus is a skill. It's something you build by saying no to distractions, by protecting your time, by being intentional with every hour. Stop waiting for permission. Nobody's going to tell you you're ready. Nobody's going to give you the green light. Nobody is going to validate your decision to go after what you want. You have to give yourself permission. You have to decide you're ready, even if you're not, even if you're scared, even if you don't have all the answers. The elite mind doesn't wait. It moves. It starts before it's ready. It figures things out along the way. Because waiting is just another form of quitting. It's just a slower, quieter version of giving up. And if you wait until you feel ready, you'll wait forever. Ready is a feeling that never comes. You just have to go. Your life is happening right now, not tomorrow, not next week, not when you finally achieve that goal. right now, this moment. And if you're not present for it, you're missing it. You're living on autopilot, going through the motions, waiting for some future version of your life to start. But this is it. This is your life. And it's passing by while you're distracted, while you're worried, while you're focused on everything except what's right in front of you. The elite mind is present. It's here, fully engaged with whatever it's doing, not thinking about the past, not anxious about the future, just here. And that presence is where real living happens. That's where joy exists. That's where peace exists. Right here, right now. You are capable of more than you think, way more. The limits you think you have are mostly mental. They're stories, beliefs, assumptions. But they're not facts. You've barely scratched the surface of what you can do, what you can handle, what you can build. And the only way to find out what you're really capable of is to push past where you think your limits are, to keep going when you think you can't, to try things you think are impossible. The elite mind doesn't accept limits. It tests them, it challenges them, it breaks through them. Not because it's special, but because it refuses to believe the limitations that most people accept without question. Stop playing small. Stop dimming your light because you're worried about what other people will think. Stop holding back because you're afraid of being too much, too ambitious, too loud, too different. The world doesn't need more people playing it safe. It needs more people willing to take risks, to stand out, to go after what they want unapologetically. The elite mind doesn't shrink, it doesn't hide, it doesn't apologize for wanting more, for being more. It owns it, it embraces it, it shows up fully. And it doesn't care if that makes other people uncomfortable, because the right people will appreciate it, and the wrong people don't matter. Your mindset is everything. You can have all the talent in the world, all the resources, all the opportunities, but if your mindset is weak, none of it matters. You'll sabotage yourself. You'll find reasons why it won't work. You'll quit before you even really start. But if your mindset is strong, if it's trained, if it's elite, you can overcome almost anything. You can turn obstacles into opportunities. You can find solutions where others see dead ends. You can keep going when everyone else has stopped. That's the power of the mind. That's why it's the most important thing to master. Because everything flows from there. Your actions, your decisions, your results, all of it starts in your head. Build the elite mind, not for some distant future goal, but for today, for right now. Because the person you are today determines the life you'll have tomorrow. And if you want a different life, you need to become a different person. You need to think differently, act differently, show up differently. And that starts with your mind, with taking control, with refusing to let random thoughts, emotions, and external circumstances dictate your life. You're more powerful than you realize. You have more control than you think. But you have to claim it. You have to use it. You have to build it every single day. Until the elite mind isn't something you're trying to develop, it's just who you are. And when you get there, when you reach that point, everything changes. Not because the world changed, but because you did, and that makes all the difference.